Don't bring around a clown to rain on my parade. Don't tell me not to fly. I've simply...
Greetings from Castle Goring from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well. Today we have a very interesting series of events to cover because poor Meghan and Harry have been having problems in the court. I don't know how it's happened. I mean, Rachel Zane would not be tolerating all of this nonsense. I mean, her security requires that she's always to be a success. But for some reason, there's a big problem because both Harry and Meghan have been suffering with legal uncertainties, and the judiciary just hasn't been playing ball the way they wanted to. Oh dear. So, without further ado, I will plunge in with what Rosenet Gonzalez says. Dear Lady C, is it true that the King has spoken? It was reported that the King, big block capitals, banned anyone from speaking or mentioning the names of the Harkles. What is your take on this? I would love to hear your valuable opinions. Thank you so much. I wonder how the Harkles now feel that they are the Invisibles. Well, you've asked more than one question, so I'll start with the last first. I understand that they are disconsolate, that so much hair from all sorts of Turkish virgins is lying on the floor of all of those bathrooms and the kitchen and the living rooms and the bedrooms at Montecito, as Megsy Baby and H have been. Well, H, I just don't know how you could have done this to me. First of all, you make me a target for the Taliban, and now we're invisible and we're banned and everybody knows it. And I mean, how can you have caused this, H? I mean, if you just done what I said. But you didn't, did you, H? I gather that's pretty much the scenario. Oh, poor H. Poor H. Well, my understanding to be very serious, because it is basically a serious matter, is that the King is practicing loving detachment. He wishes Harry and Meghan well. He wishes them every success in the world. He doesn't want to know until they turn over a new leaf. Other people would say until they seek treatment. And certainly going off what Harry has said, and certainly going off Meghan's past demeanour, I would have thought that a good 12-step programme is what the King has in mind. But I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'll keep them in my own. A good 12-step programme. Getting off all sorts of recreational substances. Aurora, honey, go to the kitchen and get Mom. Mom needs some Coke. Her throat is parched. Go on, Aurora, go get Mom some Coke. She needs to drink the Coke. Well, also, you know, Charles has been down this road before with Harry's mother. always competing, always trying to rain on his parade. I mean, there was absolutely no need for Harry's speech to the veterans in the United States of America to be broadcast in the middle of the night, just before Charles's first state opening of Parliament as king, the first king in 70 years. Those of you who are too young or weren't interested in the subject won't remember that there was a famous, I should say an infamous incident when Charles and Diana were at an engagement, and as he was about to speak, she snuck behind him, went on the piano and started to play. That's the sort of rubbish she used to do, and that's the sort of rubbish that Harry and Meghan do. And they think it's okay. Well, since the precedent started with Harry's mother, and we all know that Meghan has, notwithstanding the fact she's never Googled the royal family, knows nothing about it, but was somehow an expert and had all sorts of books. And as several people have pointed out, she has used my Real Diana book as a Bible of emulation and tactics and repetitious scenarios. Well, Harry had the unmitigated gall to say, I've said it before and I'll say it again, service is what happens in the quiet and the chaos. And whether we are wearing the uniform or not, we must continue to uphold the values we learned side by side on the base, on the drill square, and on the battlefield. Values of service, values of honor and integrity, and values of togetherness and solidarity. I know our journeys to this point differ, but we are always connected through what we learned as humans, what we faced as families, and how we've come out stronger because of our ability to listen, to understand, to support one another. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been in the situation that the King and Prince William are in. And I can tell you something. There comes a point when you say, enough is enough. I am fed up to my back teeth of the hypocrisy, the mendacity, the outright brazen manipulation, the virtuous signaling that is based upon everything that is ignoble, and I just don't want to know. So, is it any surprise that the king doesn't want Harry's name mentioned? I don't know why it's a surprise to people. I suppose some clever dicky bird has recently reported upon it. But this has been the state of play for quite some time. And I can tell you something. I don't blame Charles or William. I've been there, I've done that, and I can tell you it's the only way to cope and keep your sanity. Now, Ma Pa says, love you and your podcasts, Lady C. Amid Scabies' book will be out soon. We know he is used by the Sussex duo to get their information out. Do you know if the royal family is at all concerned about what he might state in this ridiculous book? Well, my dear Ma Pa, you've pretty much summarized the reality. Ridiculous book. Of course, when you are being damaged by lies, promulgated by treacherous individuals. And these are being perpetuated by writers with little reverence for fact. Or, as Amit Scabies says, he's biracial. Half Caucasian on his father's side, half Caucasian on his mother's side. That makes him biracial. That's the level of his accuracy. Well, my understanding is that they're all heartily sick of the whole situation and that it's a business as usual, and they are starving insofar as it is possible each latest antic of the oxygen of recognition. Only when they are absolutely forced to acknowledge, recognize, and respond will they do so. The rest of the time, their attitude, I was told by somebody close to them, who's very down to earth, is that it's as if Harry and Meghan are in the room and they're incontinent and there's an almighty stink and you're surrounded by strangers, so you act as if everything is normal, but everybody can smell the stench and nobody is deceived as to where the stench is coming from. So I think that hopefully answers that question. APU says, the reports in the papers about Harry's lawsuit against Associated Newspapers are confusing. Did his side win or lose? Well, they lost on the really important matters, and they won, in quotes, on the other substantive matter, which is the Associated Newspapers were trying to get the claims struck out. It's not only Harry, it's Elton John, Liz Hurley, Baroness Lawrence, Sadie Frost, David Furnish, blah, blah, blah. So it's not only Harry. This is one of the actions that David Sherborne has sculpted after Elton John introduced them while Harry and Meghan were staying as Elton John's house guests in France. I think you might remember it. It's the time that they couldn't fly to Balmoral because Archie was too young to fly to Balmoral, but they were able to fly to the south of France, which is a greater distance, even though Archie was the same age. Well, I'll go through it quite particularly. Yeah, Harry and all of the others have been allowed to continue their case against Associated Newspapers by Mr Justice Nicklin, who is the senior defamation judge. He's the judge who handled my case against the Mirror Group as well. I found him to be very sound. Of course, no judge's rulings are upheld 100%, and one or two of his have been recently overturned on appeal. But by and large, he is a judge of significant substance. Otherwise, he wouldn't be where he is. He ruled, and this is a major point, that the defendants are, sorry, not the defendants, the plaintiffs could not use leaked financial documents that were confidentially supplied to the Leveson inquiry. They couldn't leak them into the media, which of course they've been trying to do. And it's so honourable, don't you think? And also that they can't use them in the case. This is the second big blow for Harry, because in July, Mr Justice Fancourt dismissed Harry's evidence as implausible in really knocking out Harry's claim for hacking against The Sun, which is News Group newspapers. Well, according to David Sherborne, there were unlawful acts, including intercepted mobile phone messages, listening to live landline calls, obtaining itemized phone bills and medical records by blagging and breaking into private property. Well, Nicklin ruled that each of, I think it's the 7 plaintiffs had, wait for it, I'm quoting, a real prospect, I'm quoting from the 95-page judgment, a real prospect of demonstrating that associated or those for whom associated is responsible conceal from him / her the relevant facts upon which a worthwhile claim of unlawful information gathering could have been advanced. Whilst it is common ground that the publication of any unlawful articles was not concealed, these were, on the claimant's case, only the tip of the iceberg. What was deliberately hidden from the claimants, if they are correct in their allegations, were the underlying unlawful acts that are alleged to have been used to obtain information for subsequent publication. On the face of it, that appears to be a victory. It is actually a victory for the lawyers. It is a victory for all the lawyers who are going to be making money out of this case. It is not necessarily a victory for the claimants, who in the event of our loss will have to stamp up their legal costs as well as the other side's legal costs, because the whole thing hinges on evidence provided by somebody called Gavin Burrows, who has come in for particular criticism. On the face of it, that might have appeared to be a victory for the claimants, but it's not, because Gavin Burrows gave what Mr Justice Nicklin has said, and I'm going to quote Mr Justice Nicklin. Mr Burrows has given 2 flatly contradictory statements to each side in this litigation. According to Nicklin, the differing accounts might be thought to be a classic case of conflict of facts that could only be resolved at a trial. So Gavin Burrows has given a signed statement to Associated Newspapers, quote unquote, denying that he was commissioned or instructed by Associated to carry out any unlawful activity, and he gave the absolute opposite statement to David Sherborne. That is the basis upon which the case is proceeding. A clear conflict of fact that needs to be found. The court, a trial is where each side has an arguable case, and the court needs to find the facts. Now, insofar as the use of the Leveson documents were concerned, Nicklin said the court will, for its part, not permit the use in litigation of documents which have been provided or obtained in breach of a restriction order without the relevant restriction order being varied or revoked. By doing so, the court is upholding and promoting the rule of law. Ignoring or treating without consequence the breach of a restriction order would involve the court in undermining the rule of law. Of course, Associated newspapers hopped in and at the end of it all said that the ruling on the Leveson documents is, and I quote, a significant victory for justice and the Mail. As Mr Justice Nicklin says, this is an abuse of process, and if used, it would bring the administration of justice into disrepute. We have always made unequivocally clear the lurid claims made by Prince Harry and others of phone hacking, landline tapping, burglary, and sticky window microphones are simply preposterous, and we look forward to establishing this in court in due course. Well, it's going to be a hoolie. The lawyers are going to love David Sherborne's going to make even more money. That's right. David Sherborne, who, is very well known in the legal profession. And remember, I have had 50 years of experience in the legal profession. Let me find a delicate way of putting this. I have excellent lawyers. And of course, if I have excellent lawyers, they know pretty much everybody in the legal profession. More than that, I don't want to say. But David Sherborne is going to make a lot of money. Elton, Hugh doesn't like pushing his hand in his pocket. You don't mind it. Good luck. You're going to need it. Jacaranda Blue says, greetings, Lady C, and also to the furry family. Woof woof. Question, have you any news from Samantha about her lawsuit against Meghan? I do get the feeling the Markle team is putting out a lot of media fluff at the moment. Could it be they are trying to dilute bad news of some sort? Gosh, I wonder if I have a cold coming on. Aurora, Mickey, please go get Mutty some Coke. She needs something to sort of take away the effects of possibly getting a cold. Do I have any news from Samantha? Yes, I do. We've been in touch. Everybody is optimistic, would be the best word to use. I have said all along, when people said that they thought that it's not England, it's America, Judge Honeywell might be influenced because she's black and Meghan's brown. And I said I didn't think so. And that she was appointed by X and therefore it means I said no. And so far, all of her rulings have been sound. Now, in Florida, it's a very high bar to prove defamation, but Judge Honeywell, after this case, and this was only one of the many preliminary hearings that there have been. This is not the trial yet, but it was quite clear that Judge Honeywell understood the ramifications, was not having Meghan's team blow smoke in her face or anywhere else for that matter, that she could absolutely see what was going on. And she made some very interesting points because, of course, Meghan's lawyers came in. They're very high-powered. They're very expensive. They're used to mowing everybody down. And they thought they were going to blitzkrieg it. And then, when the blitzkrieg didn't work, they thought they were going to sidestep it. And Judge Honeywell made the point that where Meghan said on Oprah that Samantha had only started to use the name Markle once Meghan was going out with Prince Harry. So, in other words, Samantha was a crass opportunist. And Judge Honeywell said, no, the word important is extremely important, which it is. And Meghan actually, in that part of the interview, emphasized the word with her finger. So, but they were hoping Judge Honeywell is too dumb to see that. Well, she's not too dumb, and she saw it. Meghan's team were also hoping that they might be able to prevail the way they had prevailed in funding freedom and finding freebies, and saying there was no link between the lies that Meghan had got Jason Knopf to tell amid Scabies and Caroline Durand about Samantha, that there was no link. And she can't do that anymore. She can't do it with Oprah and she can't do it with Netflix. She is liable for every word she said, and she is liable for everything that her people have said and everything that Archewell has come up with, because Archewell is a producer of those shows. And Archewell also is a Meghan's company. So there's a direct link back to Meghan. So Meghan's lawyers trying to be, oh, well, it's just opinion. No, it's not. When you tell an outright lie and you are the producer of the show, there you are on the credits with other producers, but still you're liable. Then there is the matter of Christopher Boozy as an expert in the Netflix with defaming Samantha and making false claims which have already been shown by both Twitter and Newsweek to be rubbish. He has concocted figures that he has just made up and tried to make out that Samantha was this awful stalker when she's the one who was being stalked by them. Interesting. And what will be really interesting is Judge Honeywell has reserved judgment. It could take a week, it could take a month. Evidently, these things normally take about a month in Florida. So if she's going to be going by the norm, it's the judgment, the final judgment as to whether the case will proceed or not is in a month. But in the meantime, she has warned both sides that she's not delaying further. The case is listed for trial early next year, and they have to be prepared for the trial. So they have to, in the meantime, all parties concerned have to, in the meantime, be getting their evidence together. And it will be interesting to see if Meghan and Harry are deposed in the interim, and if Boozy is deposed, because Boozy, and hereafter I will call him the Guppy because I don't like using the man's name. I think it's a very unfortunate name for any individual to have, especially somebody who is like him. The Guppy has claimed various things, and of course shades of with the Associated Newspapers trial where Mr Justice Warby found in favour of Meghan, and Meghan had not leaked any information whatsoever to Scabies for funding freedom and finding freebies, notwithstanding the fact he had said in the book that she had, and she had admitted that she had, then she denied it, then they had to admit it. So, the inconsistency, the variability of versions of the truth, tantamount to outrageous lies. It will be interesting to see when they are deposed and they get to the bottom of things, because there is the belief that Meghan and Harry have been using the Guppy to bot everybody. He has been their prime bot, according to one theory. And if it turns out, when they are deposed, all of them, that he has been botting on Meghan and Harry's behalf, my goodness, not only will it be apparent that the emperor has no clothes, but the emperor is so physically repellent and challenged, shall we say, that the emperor isn't fit to rule. Let's put it that way. Because if Samantha's people can prove that the Guppy was paid by Meghan and Harry, my goodness, they all have huge problems. It's very optimistic, to summarize. But with the law, nothing is a certainty. I am hoping that Judge Honeywell will continue in the vein she has been pursuing so far and will allow the case to proceed to trial. Meghan and Harry and the Guppy and all of their ilk will be completely destroyed, because all the smoke and mirrors, all the concoctions, all the fabrications, unless they are going to lie in depositions, at which point they could end up being charged with perjury. Let's wait and see. Kathy Plunkett says, Dear Lady C, do you think Samantha will have a fair trial, or will Harry and Meghan's people be able to whitewash it? Well, Judge Honeywell so far has shown herself to have a very good understanding of the law and of the situation, and she's not allowed herself to be blinded by science, the science of fraudsters and phonies, snake oil merchants, Elmagantry time. She's not allowed herself to have the Elmagantries revered. If it gets to trial, of course Meghan's team are going to try to throw sand in everybody's face and blind everybody with pseudoscience. But Samantha's team are very sound and solid, as they have shown recently. Meghan and Harry's people will try to whitewash it. Samantha's people will make sure the truth is addressed, and Judge Honeywell, I have no doubt, will allow the truth to emerge. Let's put it that way. Dawn Goffstein says, Hello, Lady C. Love to you and your fur babies. Thank you. Love to you too. I have 2 questions. Do you think Ari Emanuel is kicking himself for signing Meghan? I heard he bet Sunshine Sacks that he could make Meghan a Hollywood A-lister. What do you think of Harold and Fraud lecturing people about the internet and online bullying? Yet the sugars threaten and bully, steal from content creators' YouTube channels and people who comment, or anyone who isn't on Harold and Meg and Fraud's payroll. They wish people dead. Well, I'm not sure about all of that, but I take your word for it. My understanding is that Ari Emanuel is finding he's Sisyphus. He's finding it very difficult, pushing that boulder up and up and up and up. He's finding it difficult. But he's very aggressive. He's very well connected, as indeed were Sunshine Sacks, and the roles are different. Sunshine Sacks were employed as publicity merchants. Ari Emanuel is an agent. His brief is to get Meghan work. Well, we all know that he got her an audible deal that's worth far more than anything the Obamas could ever and would ever have got. We know that because Meghan and Harry's people announced it. And then, lo and behold, the audible people lie and say, it's not true. Oh no, sorry, they spoke the truth. My understanding is it's an uphill struggle for him. Is he regretting it yet? People of that ilk don't live with regrets. They will do their best. They will try because it's going to prove that they're better than everybody else. And if they don't succeed, they usually do a Pontius Pilate. They just wash their hands and they're on to the next thing. And they also make everybody know that their task was impossible. They didn't fail. They were deceived into believing that the impossible was possible. So where Ari Emmanuel is concerned, it's a win-win situation. Where Meghan is concerned, it's looking like it's a lose-lose situation. Mandy Ward says, Lady C, do you think Harry looks more and more unhappy every time you see him? I think he misses the good works that he did in the royal family. I thought he would definitely continue his mother's legacy, but he can't. He doesn't have the platform to do so. Plus, Meg probably won't let him because it doesn't make money. I also thought he would have been a great father, but he doesn't do what his mother did with her children. What has gone wrong? I believe he's depressed and constrained by Meg. I wonder if she has asked him, is he okay? And has she gotten him help? I hope that the help that Meg said she never received. But Meg doesn't need to get H help, sweetie pie, because H has his therapists on speed dial, remember? He even admitted it in Spare. I think you're actually on to something. I understand that Harry is deflated. Let's use that word. He is deflated. But the question is, does he find deflation satisfying? You know, Harry was never the great hot shot, overworked royal that he would have liked people to believe he was. He never was. There was a tremendous struggle to find him work he could do that he would find gratifying and that would be constructive. He did not create Invictus. He benefited from other people's creation of Invictus, and he was very good as the face of Invictus. But yes, he's lost his platform, and you can't do public service and at the same time be expecting a commercial recompense. It doesn't work like that. They've been trying it. They have failed. They're going to continue to fail. Harry and Meghan are on a losing wicket. Unless they actually wake up, start to see reality for what it is, see that they can't bend it to their desires and wishes, but that they need to have respect for it and for everybody else. I'm afraid it's one losing wicket after the other. And Diana, I have to tell you, by the time she was coming to the tail end of her life, if I remember correctly, Diana resigned from 190 patronages in about 1994. I'm going off memory. Diana, by the time she died, dabbled in charity work. And when she was asked why she did charity work, when she was doing it, she said, because she had nothing better to do. Now, I'm not denigrating the charity work she did. She was wonderful and commendable, and she did marvelous stuff. But let's place it all in its realistic context. Charles has always had a commitment to charity. Philip had a commitment to charity. Believe it or not, Edward, via the Duke of Edinburgh's scheme, has always had a big commitment to charity. Diana did not have such a big commitment to charity by the time she died. She had a few high-profile causes that she spotlit, some rather more effectively and successfully than others, but all were spun after her death by the mainstream media as if they had all been outstanding successes, notwithstanding the fact that some had not been. And I'm referring in particular to the landmines cause. But Harry will have been only too aware that his mother's commitment to charity by the time she died was considerably less than it had been when she was a member of the royal family. What does this mean? This means that Diana's example gave Harry permission to also absolve himself of a full-time commitment and to dabble the way she thereafter dabbled. Having said that, let me be clear about what I'm saying. I am not saying that a public figure who is in a private capacity, which Diana was and Harry is, has to or should dedicate all their time to good causes. Any good cause that they dedicate their time to that benefits, I would say, good luck to the cause, and what they have done is commendable. However, with Harry and Meghan, there is a discomforting link between what they call a public service and propagandized virtue signaling, encroachments that are tied up with commercial and political activities. My own opinion is, if Harry and Meghan want to go into the business of commerce, fine. But do leave off the posturing and the pose and the pretense that you are about service. Self-service isn't the same as public service. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please, could you keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to speak about? Okay? Thank you so much. God bless. And if you have truly enjoyed this, could you please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye.